Round 1 of the NFL Draft definitely did not disappoint, as there were a few surprises, like the report of Aaron Rodgers supposedly wanting out of Green Bay. We finally learned who was going to be the player to go at number 3, and that was, of course, North Dakota State's quarterback Trey Lance over to the 49ers. And then you had Ohio State's quarterback Justin Fields drop out of the top 10, landing with the Chicago Bears, which, gotta admit, makes me a little bit happy. But yes, we are still only one day into the draft, but I do want to see how round 1 picks affect the looks, affect the needs, and the overall outlook of my two favorite teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago Bears. Man, it is absolutely tough being a fan to these two teams, but I do want to see how round 1 helps the future cause, starting first with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are plus 800 to win the AFC South, behind the Colts and the Titans, and there's already an early prop out on the over-under for Trevor Lawrence passing yards, and that number is 41.50.5, minus 110 both ways. It was, of course, no surprise to see Clemson's quarterback Trevor Lawrence go number 1 overall. They definitely needed a quarterback, and Tank for Trevor finally reaped its benefits. But between Gardner Minshew, Mike Glennon, and Jake Luton, the Jags were 27th in yards per pass attempt and 29th in yards per completed pass. The over-under right now for Trevor Lawrence passing yards is 41.50.5, but these three quarterbacks combined for 3,955 yards, and they were still ranked at the bottom in yardage. So I do think that there could be a potential there for Trevor Lawrence to surpass this number. I don't know, maybe we could see him hit the 45 range. But the Jags did add also CJ Beathard, so I imagine that a trade is possible for perhaps Minshew or Luton, since both do still have multiple seasons left in their rookie contracts. They do have some talent at the wide receiver group, starting first with DJ Chark, but unfortunately he did miss 3 games from injury. He did see a decline from his 2019 campaign, and he is also on his final year of his rookie contract. But they do also have Laviska Shenault, who had 5 receiving touchdowns, and they did also acquire Marvin Jones. Though he is 31 years old, he has had at least 9 receiving touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 seasons. My hope, though, is that it seems like it's a no-brainer to utilize their number 33 draft pick tonight in round 2 to acquire a wide receiver, and that could be Elijah Moore of Ole Miss. They did also pick a running back at number 25 in Clemson's Travis Etienne, and I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure about that pick because they do have undrafted rookie James Robinson, who had an absolute stellar of a season with 1,400 combined rushing and receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. But he definitely was a workhorse, and you saw that week in, week out, so maybe some help from Etienne is going to mean that they don't have to rely so heavily on just one player. And when I say rely, Robinson handled 85% of the backfield carries, but he only 32% of those carries were beyond 5 yards. So Etienne could maybe take some of those touches, and Robinson could definitely be used more at the goal line. The second favorite team that I wanted to talk about are the Chicago Bears, and though they were projected to get a quarterback is exactly what they got. It was expected to be Trey Lance, but instead they traded from 20 to number 11 and to grab Ohio State's Justin Fields. And as far as I'm concerned, that gives me some hope. So remember those times when I said crazy silly things like this? Well, you're probably going to see a lot of Bears tickets up on the agenda for 2021. The Bears are plus 650 to win the NFC North, and their season win total is 7.5 with the under juiced to the favorite. Do we see Andy Dalton as QB1? I think you've got to think that it's unlikely at this point, because now you've got a quarterback that has some major upside, pairing him with Allen Robinson, who does nothing but produce. Robinson had nearly 1,300 yards last season and is paired with a quarterback who could potentially be the best one that he has ever played with. You also have wide receiver Darnell Mooney, who did end the season 5th amongst all rookies in receptions, and tight end Cole Kmet, who was utilized more towards the end of the season, upping his snap count from 34% to 84%. So I do definitely believe that this offense has some room to grow. And I am warning you right now, you're probably going to see a lot of Bears plays being made in the 2021 season. But that does it for an early look at some of the odds, and I am telling you that I cannot wait for the 2021 NFL football season. But do make sure to check out oddshark.com for a list of some of the books that you can connect with and some of the betting odds from various sites, and of course predictions for upcoming games in any sport.